There is the character of Aranyani, there is a character of the sage and the scientist. When we did the R&D, if we get the Kathak dancer, then we could have her. I always feel Kathak is very rhythmic, so the scientist would fit into that pace. Laura could be the sage, and Suhani and you could be Aranyani. And Aranyani is one figure, but when we were doing the R&D, we were thinking of what if Aranyani is a dual,
This is what she said. She said tree, spirituality, science, conservation. These are the words that she gave me. We're looking at a culture from the East, and we're trying to mesh it with things that have happened in the West.
This actually looks really nice. It looks beautiful, I think. Trust me, maybe you don't in the hospital, but if you do this in the forest, you will find children doing that after you.
I think what we are also using is technique of Bharatanatyam, because I think it's important, along with characters, we establish the style as well.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
it will be
and that is
all
why I thought that having one Kathak, one Bharatanatyam, Aranyani would be another way of showing the duality.
perfect.
So
it's really lovely to see work that has a real social, political reason for it. Trying to tell young people about the world that we live in, the forests we live in, trees, their importance, to bring science into it and brilliantly to bring tech into it feels so important, because there's so few explorations that do all of this together. So it feels really lovely that, sometimes dance alone cannot say something that you want to say, and it feels really important that you can bring other elements to tell the story you want to tell. So yeah, it's great.
Going, there is a transfer. And then this, and then into that. From there, and again we can spread. And spreading. And then going into the down bit. Swap. Ta, 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 she joins. Ta, 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 swipe. Go. Ta, 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 she joins. Ta, then, I don't know, I'm trying to see how we can do some.
That's true. Yeah, just watch out for those kind of things.
like it's the way in which you make contact with each other, articulate that. Do you see? So it's not just like a
just stuck.
So there's an articulation of the way you touch each other. That for me feels very powerful. So I think the four of them were doing that, but because they're facing each other, that moment gets lost.
But is it that,
but instead of having just one of you,
I tried doing that with her, with the fingers.
It has to be, even this has to be very articulate.
pronounced.
The first time, even when we're here,
We're feeling. It's like we put it here, it has to be a very defined touch.
It seems fine. There was a point where the two of you were down, kind of, sort of like this.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, you can be like that for a while.
Yeah, because I think one thing that Chris was saying was that, okay, who do I look at? Do I look at Aranyani or do I look at? And that was a good moment.
And I think we're all trying to, convey intent.
Project that we've got for performers who come from different backgrounds, different traditions, different experiences, different ways of working, and I think that actually underpins and emphasises the richness and diversity of the situation that Krishna wants to explore here. So that's a real positive. It's not easy, but it's actually much more rewarding to try and find out what we can all learn from each other's disciplines and each other's practices. So that's been really great. trees around.
That's
Full
true,
tree.
there are
So,
trees.
I mean, there are
So
at least 4, possibly 5 trees.
Yeah.
And I mean, they could be hanging on one of the trees, you know.
Yeah,
that you
that
just-
would be
Oh,
lovely.
yeah,
that would be
nice.
lovely, yeah,
That would be
Chris.
lovely.
Maybe
Yeah.
between if they're like down there.
I think the challenging aspect was arriving at science versus spirituality. How does that translate on into a performance in a relatable, in an understandable and an engaging fashion? You have written one line saying she walks into the forest, but how that is interpreted and how that it's not just her walking into the forest. There is so much more that happens there. It's lit. I have written it and I've built a picture with words, but they're building a picture with actual movement.
We also have two sides to our nature. The active.
For example, like the sage and scientist, like both different, they're from both different worlds, but we are incorporating into like one story. So that was my brief, like basically the story about Aranyani and how like the tree is connecting to the whole world and nature. I was using ragas, but the violin was a Western instrument, so that they can connect to it. But the ragas, like Western, we don't have any ragas in the Western. Yeah, so for Aranyani music, they like it's going in a rag basically. But it is like like communicating to the like other audiences through the sounds and soundscape you hear, which are like familiar, like violin and easy stuff to listen to.
So this now is sound reactive. So the louder I get, the light's going to change and flicker. So you can see it's already reacting to your music.
Oh, is that what it's reacting to?
What we're bringing is some interactive technology to the dance. I think it's about because the project is about all of life and about man's impact on the planet and all of those big subjects. It's also about how technology can save or help save the planet, as well as be one of the reasons why it's all a bit of a bad state. So
It works off distance.
Instead of doing ulta first,
Oh,
if you do
I
So
see.
if you're close to the tree,
Yes,
it
it
lights
lights.
up.
flat.
So that could be used for something. It could be used for maybe not necessarily the tree, but it could be used for if you wanted to put them other places.
Yeah.
Changing figures, it's nice, it's nice.
the brief was like, we are going to go into like community settings. It has to all be small, battery operated, but it has to have enough impact that it could be seen in natural daylight. So so we were kind of limited about what we could do, and also we're very keen, and so as Christian are very keen on using available technology. So we're using Microbit to do our lights, our interactive lights.
I think that scene of the tree being alive can also be at the start. So once the dancers are getting into this, mode where they're talking about the tree and it's all happy, that the tree, the beginning can be that way. When the human is destroying, those lights can go off,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
I think that's a good idea.
yes, it's for you to sort it out now.
But we have an
So this is I'm using my iPhone torch and putting it at the end of the fibre optic, and it carries the light to the very tip of the other end. And if I move it around, it kind of does a nice flicker effect. And that's the principle of the fibre optic cable. That's how it works inside the tree.
What we're doing here is that we've had a little prelude to the concept where we're introducing the 5 elements That's which they can show to you later on. And then from there comes the origin, the tree imagery, the origin of life. And we swipe into the mode of introducing the forest goddess Aranyani from the Rig Veda. Aranyani is supposed to be one person, but her character is a contradicting character. She's fierce, she's playful, she's rooted, she's exploring, she's a warrior, she's protecting. So there are these different modes, but the commonality is that her anklets, even in the Rig Veda, are very prominent. That the characterization is that she has these anklets with which she dances and plays the music, and that's all in harmony with the forest.
Sense of sound, and there's this whole sense of reverence that the bells have, which we have in dance as well, which is what we're trying to establish. And then
I think everybody understands celestial figures, and to tell them that this is the sun god, this is the water god, and this is what we will get from them, without going too much into detail about who they are, essentially what their history is, because Indian mythology is massive. To keep it simple without complicating it too much and giving information that's sort of unnecessary.
And finally,
drinking of the water before.
oh yes, I forget it. Yeah,
There's quite a lot in water. So we drink the water first, and then we kind of splash, and that's when.
No, we drink the water and we kind of take it in, and from there we do the wave. We become the wave.
Oh, we
and
do
then we
the-
splash. Yeah, we've been missing that part for the past 2 days. Yeah.
yes.
And then we splash, and they go wild. So we kind of calm them and we're like, sit down. So we calm down, and then we go to earth. So that's the point.
Accessibility, it gives each one of us to be surprised by ourselves and the others, which generally would not be the case because we're so consumed in the work that we're doing otherwise. This is a place for us to pause, to see, to reflect, to take what they're saying, to think, and also be in awe of what they're saying, what they're doing, and how they're thinking, how they're moving. Sometimes how another person moves inspires you, right? So I think it's all of it together. All little things come together to surprise me.
While one idea may feel convincing on a particular day, it may not make sense the next day. So you're constantly reinventing and you constantly feel like you've progressed, but when you start from scratch, because it's improvisation and nothing set in stone, you're going back again and again and again. So it does become a loop sometimes where you feel like you're repeating and revisiting ever so often. But I guess that's the nature of an R&D, where there is no immediate touring.
You can show it as a duality in the R&D, but when you come to making the piece, you might decide that this isn't one person or two people doing exactly the same thing. But these are questions I'm just throwing in for you to have a...
Actually, very interesting. Just translating the same movement, taking Bharatanatyam as a more grounded perspective and her Kathak as doing exactly the same movement, but at different levels and different intentions.
that was the actual intention, because when Aisha wrote the script, Aranyani as a character, I think even in the Veda is is one person. She's one person. I think this was more of an artistic liberty that I took by saying that what if within there are two people representing two contrasting characters.
That's quite a.
It became more complicated
Yeah,
there.
because it's for children as well, right?
Realistically, if we are taking this work to non-traditional theaters, like when we are in a theater setting, we'll have lighting, yeah, but not necessarily if we're in an outdoor space, we may not have that amount of light, but the music can be really helpful in deciding those and making things clear for the people to follow what's happening.
I was aware that I can't use the same piece of music or something similar or even same sound to a different music, because then people might relate to it. Like if Aranyani's violin piece was in some like Sage's music or something, they might relate, okay, there's some connection, but there won't be any connection in the story. So I was aware that I'm not using any same sound to a different. That was actually a challenge, but I was experimenting with electronic stuff also, like electronic genre and Indian classical genre. That was like, yeah, it was a good challenge.
5, 6, 7.
Conceptually, you understand the character, but because this character is a little, it is a multifold character wherein there is a different, two different aspects, and how we are interweaving it with two different styles. So that is something which was challenging for me, and I wouldn't say challenging, but a little more exploring my own abilities to adapt to that movement, to adapt to that, how my body reacts to it, the different kind of music. The music is lovely, and I think it just adds on to the movement. So that's been really, challenging for me.
Maybe I can show it with my.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm here. It's been a really great opportunity for me to see like how having collaborators in the room is really important. Up until very recently, I have always kind of self-devised work and been in a room basically on my own, created something. And then the next stage for that, which soon I'll be going into, and I'm really grateful that I've had this experience to have given me those ideas, but having like somebody to document, having somebody like the dramaturg, having them to come in and say whether it makes sense or not from an outside perspective, musician, like having all of these different artists that can come in and bring something new is it's really important, and it actually makes the process much more fun because you can really like bounce off each other, and that's been really great.